Hello and welcome to another episode of the Brett Campbell Show. Today's episode, I'm speaking with one of our Claxon VIP clients, Axon Property Group. Robbie, actually the CEO of Axon Property Group, he was on a podcast a number of episodes ago, I believe, where we talked about his personal journey from being in the military for 25 years. He's a fifth-year major in the Army, to his transition into, his transition into entrepreneurship, right? Building and growing his own company. So today's episode, though, is we talk more on the business aspect, how they actually built and grew Axon. Amazing company doing amazing things where they work with ADF members, military, help them build their financial future. You don't have to be in the ADF or a Defence Force member to get value from this. We talk about how literally prior to joining Claxon, in our first month of working with Axon, we were able to generate more revenue in the first month than we were 18 months prior. And they were doing really well. Okay, they were doing really well too. So we talk about that and how we're able to do that. So you get a bit of a sneak peek into what we do here and how we do it. So without further ado, make sure you head over to iTunes and give me a 5-star review, and also take a screenshot of this episode on your mobile phone, and then head over to Instagram, upload it to your Instagram stories, tag me at Brett Campbell Official. That way I know you're listening to the show, and I'll be able to give you a bit of a shout out, and I'll share it through my Instagram as well, just because you're cool for tuning in and spending time with me. So that's all I got. Great episode with Robbie. This is a really good episode. If you're looking to grow and scale your business, we sort of pull apart the veil and share what's going on over at Axon Property Group. All right, Robbie Turner.
How are you, mate?
You're back, second time.
Yeah.
There's something that people may or may not know about you. You're an amazing, wonderful client of Claxon's. And
We are, yes.
Mate, I'm excited to not only have you here as a friend, but to be able to get on in and talk about your business and success in your business. And more importantly, you know, and I mean, we met probably a couple of years ago. And one thing I was very impressed with from the get-go is your business's product to market fit, which I think is something that's lacking in you know, a lot of businesses per se. You know, they might have a good product, but their product to market fit, they may be going after the wrong client. I want to jump into all of that stuff because I know you like talking about it as well. But for those who have no idea who Robbie Turner is, they're in for a little bit of a treat. But tell us about Axon Property Group. What is it? What do you do?
Yeah, so we're a property investment firm that specialises in helping current serving members of Defence use property to secure their financial future. I guess it's something I'm really passionate about, is that this is the one topic, Brett, that none of us were taught at school. How to use banks, how to use leverage, how to use finance, where to find the right properties, and how you can actually grow a portfolio, which is going to make your future self a whole lot better than what it currently looks like. It
changes the dynamic, right, and the mindset of people where you're used to working, you know, Monday to Friday and whatever hours you work, that's your limit of wealth that you're going to create. And I mean, that's definitely my parents and my grandparents and, you know, their grandparents, sort of lineage of how the world sort of looked, the outlook. But definitely to your point around this whole thing of being able to, we weren't taught this at school. I remember when I was at school.
Back in New Zealand?
In New Zealand. Back in New Zealand. My earliest memories of banking was where we'd have a Wednesday and it'd be a banking day, and I'd have a banking book and I'd take $1 coin. My mum would give me $1 coin, and we'd all the kids would line up outside the main hall area, and there'd be like a banker from our local bank, right? And we go and deposit like $1. And I had no idea. I was like, oh, yeah, why are we doing this? I thought I was just giving it away. Basically, I had no idea it was, oh, we're going to save money and one day you can do this with it or do that with it. But there's a massive need right now for the education around money and potential building wealth. Okay. Before we get stuck into that though, Axon. So why property and why the military?
Yeah. So I did 24 years in the military, for those that don't know.
Yep.
Certainly, as you sort of said in the opening there, during the Brett Campbell Show podcast, you learn all about my sort of 24 years in the military. When I got out 7 years ago, I went and joined another firm, and that was with an ex-Army guy as well. And that, although we weren't specialising in just helping military people then, 3.5 years ago when I started Axon, I too was like, okay, let's not only target mum and dad investors, but we can also target the military people. So it's a business now grown. We've got 9 employees, so myself and 8 others. 7 of those are veterans. We've got nearly 100 years of military experience in the business and about 85 years worth of property experience. So yeah, I guess it just become a natural fit because we speak a certain way. Yes, we swear every now and then.
Yeah.
We use language and jargon and acronyms that only those people in the know would actually sort of get. So it's a really comfortable place for people to be.
Yep.
And that's come and talk to someone that comes from their background and culture that they can have a proper conversation with. Because I don't wear a suit, I haven't got white shoes on, I don't have a big gold chain around my neck like a normal property spruiker sort of image might sort of come to life. So yeah, it's sort of worked out really well from that perspective.
Yeah, right. So you left the military and you went and worked for another company, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when throughout that journey were you like, you know what, I actually probably could do this myself. I want to set up my own business.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story actually. You want me to go into it? So yeah, it's
unless you got anything more exciting to talk about.
No, this is a good little story. So everyone's heard of the app Tinder, right? And I'm going to come back and finish on that. But the Tinder app has been an amazing opportunity for so many reasons. And here's the
Robbie
how.
Turner 69 is his handle. If you'd like to go and swipe right or left, carry on.
I actually met my wife before I got caught up in the whole internet dating scene.
Right.
So no, I don't have a profile. Yeah. Probably better for the world. But yeah, so the guy that I was working for at that time, so we were down doing some business planning in a big business group down in Sydney. Yep. And they're like, right, last part of the 3-day workshop, you've got a blank page in front of you. It's 3 years from now and your business is, and you've got a whole A4 page, you've got 20 minutes, go. Basically just data dump everything that's in your head and your heart and go right and paint a vision for what your business needs to be. And unfortunately for that other gentleman, he'd just gone through a marriage breakup and he'd discovered Tinder. And he was a pretty good marketer. And he's like, this Tinder stuff's just like marketing. Yeah. You turn the tap on, you turn the tap off. And I'm swiping left and swiping right. He goes, mate, you've got this. You're the GM. You can sort of do this business here. I'm going out in the foyer and I'm going to, go and find my next date sort of thing. And I was sitting in a room of like 250 other entrepreneurs that were then madly riding away and pouring their heart and their head into what their business vision was going to be. And I just had a penny drop moment. I'm like, why the fuck am I in here writing about someone else's business when he's outside doing the marketing thing on Tinder? I'm going to come up with my own business. So I wrote my own 1-page document and poured my own head and my own heart into this document. I called it Axon back then as well because I discovered that term. Well,
what does Axon mean?
So Axons are part of the neurotransmission system in the brain. So they're almost like the little tree branches that carry the spark between the neurons to fire the body into action. So I guess that, to your point earlier about a lack of education and a lack of mindset and a lack of, money habits and financial literacy, to be successful in anything really, be that business, be that professional sport, be that special forces like I was in the army, or, using property to secure your financial future, you've got to adopt the right mindset. Everything comes back to mindset. Good debt, bad debt, credit cards, mortgage, financial freedom, whatever you want to call it there. So, that's where the term Axon sort of came from. So yeah, I sat down and basically wrote what I could see as a vision of what I wanted this business to be. I've still got the piece of paper. And yeah, that's how it all sort of started.
And how long ago was that?
That was 3.5 years ago.
How close were you to the, like, what the vision say on the paper?
Certainly I'd say 85% close to what the business grew to in the first 12 months. I started the business just over 3 years ago in my bedroom with my wife, in my socks and jocks, with a whiteboard, and went, right, let's now build this business from scratch, noting I'd just spent 3 years in the industry. Yeah. So I knew what the basic mechanics were of how to...
You've done your apprenticeship.
Find client, coach client, put a strategy together for client, find property for client, help client find tenants, etc. So I knew what the mechanics were. But if I sort of look back now and go at that 12-month mark, what I thought the business would look like to what it looks like now, I reckon I've exceeded it by 300%, which is phenomenal. And obviously you guys have been a big part of that as well.
Yeah, well, we've been the whole part of it, right? Let's call it what it is. No, I'm kidding. You guys have a great business model. I love it. So you had this decision, you're in your socks and jocks, and you're like, you know what? Let's build this thing. Obviously right now you're doing amazingly well. You've got clientele all over the country. You get hundreds, thousands of people tuning in to watch what you're doing and what you're teaching. But what was that sort of first few months looking like? Obviously it's the big hurdle for a lot of businesses is getting those first few clients. What were some of the pivotal decisions you made in those early days?
Yeah. One of the mistakes I made was I didn't read that book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth early enough. Well thought.
That book, just a side note, was the book that started me on my entrepreneurial journey and made me build a franchise.
I did not know that. That's
book
coincidence. There you go, right there.
I've never picked up a book and read the whole book from front to cover without stopping. I was on a train in Sydney and I went an hour and a half past my stop because I was engulfed in this book. But carry on. That was a side note.
I've actually done that before, but I fell asleep after a night on the piss. But anyway. But yeah, reading that book and learning about the entrepreneur myth and about, fuck you, previous employer, I'm going to go and do this by myself. I read it a year too late. So the first 12 months or so was quite chaotic. Because I guess because the other firm I work with, they've had 5 or 6 years experience in the industry. They had 6,000 or 7,000 followers. I thought, we're running a series of webinars and lead generation activities reasonably successful, reasonably frequently. I thought this is going to be easy. I'll just transition me and my persona and my sort of reputation in the industry. I'll start my own firm and I'll have a few hundred people come to my events like we did before. And, this is going to be easy. But when you start something from scratch and you go all the way back to zero and you've got 0 followers on your Facebook page and you don't even have an email, didn't even have a CRM set up, you literally start from scratch. And it was fucking hard literally the only people that were using our services were family and friends and colleagues and people I knew from the military, which was good. It sort of got me through the first 12 months. But yeah, it wasn't.
It's that realization
easy.
that a lot of people, especially, and I, credit to them as well. It's hard for me because I'm unemployable, right? Like I can never be an employee anymore, right? For the rest of my days, I don't believe that I could go and work for someone else.
I've only felt that in the last 6 months,
Yeah.
Yeah. This year, I think, has been the turning point for me.
Yeah.
Now that we've sort of clicked over our 3rd year of being the guy who's all in from a responsibility perspective.
Yeah.
You got to provide direction and guidance. You live and die by the sword. It either fucking works or it doesn't. Yeah. You either get benefits or you don't. And then you've got to test and adjust. And the thrill of getting that done or not becomes like a bit of a drug. Yeah. And I don't think I could just let someone else steer the ship and then just get told what to do. I don't think I could be employable anymore either. So I've only just thought of that actually.
Yeah, mate. It's an interesting insight because not everyone thinks that way, right? And it would be naive of me to think of, everyone in like a number of our team members have owned their own agencies, right? They've started their own agencies or they've been out there and they've tried it and they're like, what, this just probably isn't for me. I love the art of it too much. I don't want to have to worry with all the other bullshit of businesses and contracts and, people not paying, people paying, getting new clients. Where's the next client come from? I've got to do marketing, sales, finance. I've got to build a team now because I can't do everything. So not everyone is built for that, right? Which is fantastic, and that's what makes the world go around. If everyone, was an entrepreneur and wanted to go and start their own thing, geez, it'd be a chaotic bloody world out there.
Not enough Indians.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But in the same token, you said the first 12 months was tough, right? So that transition to going, we can do this, and then you realize, wait on, there's more to probably running a business than even though you're a general manager and you got a lot of experience, it was, I guess, your sheer will of pushing through that. What kept you in it? Like, what stopped you from just waving the white flag going, I'm going back and getting a job again?
Yeah, no, that was never ever an option. Never an option at all. And I sort of reflect upon, my wife is an amazing self-taught little marketer. And we're very, very blessed to have her on board. The business would not exist without her and the work that she did. She's like, come on, we need to start getting you out there. And, you need to become Robbie the brand, and Robbie the Axon needs to get out there more and more and more. And because I did my last 11 years as a special forces officer where we had full protected identity status, to go from, I didn't even have my own name on Facebook, for instance, it was a pseudonym name. And, it was interesting. I'd go to barbecues. They're like, so Robbie, what do you do? I'm like, I'm in the army. They're like, oh, cool. Where's that down in Canberra? Like, yeah. Oh, great. What do you do down there? I'm like, I work in a bunker and I work with 5 other people and I can't really tell you because I just do special stuff. Conversation over. Now I go to a barbecue. I'm like, I don't even have to tell anyone I'm in property. Someone else tells me, and people just come and congregate around me to talk about the property market and what's going on, etc. So there was never, ever an opportunity for me to go put my hand, up again and go, I can't make this work. I have failed.
I mean, that's in your DNA, right? Like it was ingrained in you that you're not going to fail. So you push through, right? What got you over the hump, and when did you start going, wait on, this thing's, we're making some progress. Headway here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The first couple of videos that my wife's like, come on, I had to go and get a teleprompter because I couldn't even remember my own story. And it was like, I remember the words of the screen coming. I was like, hi, my name's Robbie Turner.
Yeah.
I've just created Axon Property Group. I'm an ADF veteran and I can help you with property. Like, it was fucking horrendous, right? Now I just jump on there and flap off hard like you do. Not quite as good, but I'm getting there. When I get on a bit of a Robbie rant, I don't mind having a crack. Yeah. But I guess it was just that the realization, because when you like break your leg at work or you can't do something, you just go to your boss and you've got that safety net. You can go on sick leave, you can go on, you can go on bloody paternity leave or whatever it's going to be. As an entrepreneur, when you're all in, there was no safety net. And I guess just that level of grit and determination and will to win. Like, the army taught me not to lose. So I guess I'm in a unique position there as an entrepreneur, because I didn't do my MBA. I literally did my apprenticeship on the fly, working with another firm. I had no idea about what marketing was, what's back in the military. I didn't know what a lead magnet was. I didn't know what a funnel was. I didn't know how to convert sales. I had no idea about that stuff. So it's very much a journey you sort of go on. But I guess once you sort of have a little bit of success and you get a little bit of traction and just, people start to leave the first review on your Facebook page, or people give you feedback that the service that you have provided them was actually a good experience, that's like a shot of adrenaline. And you're like, you know what? This fucking works. This person had no idea about property. They came to me. I taught them. I put a strategy together. We found a property. We built it for them, and they found tenants within 5 days, and they're really happy. Let's go do that again. Yeah, that's how it all started, really.
So effectively, with 3 years ago you started this. The first year was a bit of hit and miss, figuring stuff out. So the last 2 years has really been where the business has sort of taken off.
Totally.
Talk about sort of the growth over those 2 years.
Yeah, so it was about 2 years ago. Because I was working with that other firm in that sort of business coaching environment with the Tinder story started. I knew quickly that I needed to get some help. I knew quickly that I needed to get some business mentoring. Like, as a coach, as someone who's helping our own clients learn about a particular skill to create financial wealth in their life, I'm like, as a business owner, I need someone else to teach me more about entrepreneurship, all that stuff you speak about, marketing, sales, finance, accounts, compliance, HR, list is endless, right? So I went and seen another firm sort of do a presentation there, and the one little thing that this guy standing up the front there, he goes, you should have a level of clarity on your finances whereby your budget versus actual never is outside of 5 or 10%. Put your hand up if you know everything about what's going on with, I guess, like the heartbeat or the DNA of your business. And I could not put my hand up anywhere near at that point. And I quickly realized, even though we were going quite well, so it was myself, Tamara, we'd hired our first guy. We had a lady working for us on the back channel doing some sort of customer support. And we were doing quite well. I was like, there's an element of this business. There are elements of this business I still have no idea about. And what I think is going quite well actually has so much potential. I need to get out of my own way and not be controlling of every single part of the business. Because we did our why diagram. And as a arrogant and ignorant person, I'm like, well, I'm just going to grow this business by myself. Yeah. I put myself in every single box. I was the sales manager. I was the marketing manager. I was the HR person. I was the business development manager and the CEO, but I quickly realized that there's to bring other people into the business that are far better at doing those things than what I was and am, and to let go of some of the control of those elements of the business was a massive value add.
There's something there that you said that I want to sort of talk about is because I totally vibe with that situation. It's very much of, how we've been able to build Klaxon where, our first customer was just me, right? I was like, okay, I'll do the ads. I'll do everything, right? And then it was that quest of, how do I remove myself from every junction point that could hold up or slow up the business? And you said something, and I don't think this gets talked about enough, and I think it will lend a little bit of refreshment to business owners, entrepreneurs, etc. listening, is you said that you get people in who are better than you.
Yep.
Okay. There's a battle sometimes with the personal ego around, but they're actually not better than me. Right? Like, there's things that I know I'd be better at and I am better at than some of our team members, right? Now that's a fact because I've just got so much more experience in it, right? And a lot of people go, get people in who are better. It's like, no, you don't necessarily need to get someone who's better. You need to get someone in who's more passionate about it, right?
Yep.
So a different angle there, because I love, marketing. I love advertising. I love product ideation, creation, all of that stuff.
Human psychology.
The psychology, the influence of persuasion, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
The formula to answer one question, which is all I want to know on this planet, is why do we do what we do? Okay. And everything else falls underneath that. But to the point that I'm making there is that sometimes and I say this because I obviously talk with a lot of business owners and a lot of my friends are business owners, it's that they feel they need to get someone who's better than them at it. But then there's this internal dialogue going, well, I actually am better. You know, I've had this chat with you where you're like, well, no one can sell the property like I can. No, you're probably right? But there'll be someone else out there who doesn't even need to be as good, but they're passionate about it, and that's what they want to do, right? You're selling property right now, but I know that's not what you ultimately, if you could wave a magic wand and spend your entire day doing certain somethings, right? I'm sure you'd like to do that every so often, just like I like to go stick my head into marketing campaigns and have a little bit of a look and jump in Facebook and play with some ads just because I'm a curious person. But I think it's important that we give ourselves permission to, it doesn't have to be someone who's better than you, right? Someone who's passionate, don't even have to be as passionate about it as you, but someone who's passionate and who can do the job, right? Because a lot of people don't hire people because they're like, no, they're not better than me. So, well, maybe you're the best at it right now. Unless you want to be that specialist and just do that, then you got to make the decision based off that, right? It's the key is to, I truly feel, especially founders who, you know, like yourself, and I say this, and I'm sort of subliminally throwing things to you during this because I know we've had conversations outside of this, but it'll give value to others, is that when we can really realize that there is an easier and faster and ultimately end outcome better way to grow and scale your business, and the answer is for you to get out of the fucking way, right? Like, and that's, I'm speaking myself, yourself, other, you know, people listening to this right now, is being okay with getting yourself out of the way, but know why you're getting yourself out of the way. That's the ultimate, right? Or else we'll hijack ourselves when we're trying to make decisions of bringing someone in. You know, like to the point where I remember we're in the car coming back from the airport. We're over in, where were we, Fiji?
It's a Daydream, I think.
Daydream Islands.
A year ago.
Yep, a year ago. Oh, a year ago. Look what's happened in a year, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I was like, mate, why are you still doing so many coaching calls? Why are you doing it? Oh, because, you know, and well, you tell me about it.
Oh, I just felt like I was the best person, that the business was benefiting from me doing the majority of the coaching calls.
Yeah, and you're right.
At that time.
The business was benefiting.
Yes.
At that time, you know what I mean? Explain that story. Give me your version of it. So what we're sort of talking about, and then what sort of action you've taken from that, because I think you've had some good personal transformations of that, and whether it's the letting go of, or seeing that by letting go of certain things, it's actually going to amplify other areas. Yeah,
totally. So I'll get to that in a second. I was just reflecting on what you were talking about before, and I don't want to correct what I said, but now that I sort of reflect on it, it's almost like I recruited other people to have the potential to be better than me. Mm-hmm. And then I've been on the journey of bringing them up to the standard, getting them to a point where, so there's guys and girls that work in the business in their particular area of the employment there, that they make decisions and they come up with creative ideas that I would never even come up with.
Yep.
And it's one thing I'm really, really big on their business is I'm not the holder of all the good ideas. Be innovative, use your initiative, think outside the box, come to me with a solution about if we can do a better way and it's going to be easier, smarter, more efficient and get an even better outcome. Let's fucking implement it straight away. It's a no-brainer to get that done. Mm-hmm. So I think, that's been my passion from a leadership perspective, is recruit people that have the potential and the passion and the interest in the particular role and industry that they can be better than me one day. Because I guess to sort of go back a little bit more, when Tamara and I went across, so in March last year, not in the May period last year, like when we had that conversation, Tamara and I were over in Hawaii. We had a very, very busy start to the year. We're like, hey, cheap flights, $1,500 return, business class, let's go to bloody Honolulu for a few days. And we went over there and I got drunk, of course, and my phone slipped off the side of a boat into the deep six. So I didn't have my phone with me and I was supposed to do a really important sales call with a client. And I was like, so I had to jump on her phone and send a message going, fellas, I can't make this call with Carl, the client. You're going to have to take it over. And you know what? They did it and they got the sale through and I wasn't involved. Right? There was the first penny drop moment I had. I'm like, fuck, there was now revenue that it's about to come into this business that I was not involved in.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really great moment because I'm like, wow, I need to be able to learn how to do that again. But I guess the conversation you were having in the car, just to loop back around that to give people context about how we got to that point. I was saying to you that it sort of takes about 12 months to train someone where they can confidently and competently talk to a client, understand their circumstances, put a strategy together, and then find the solution and then project manage the solution. And you I remember your head like bloody whipped around at me like your eyes are rattling in your head going, fucking 12 months. Tell me it does not take 12 months. Now, the reason why I had that experience is that when we first brought Dan, the guy in, we weren't doing that many sales for the whole year.
Yeah.
So of course, therefore the amount of exposure and the frequency of getting that done was a lot less. Fast forward to what's happened over the last 12 months, we've now effectively brought a guy on and started in January, and he's almost at the same level now after 4 or 5 months. So we've, 2/3. So we've taken off 2/3 of the chunk of training time to get someone whereby I now trust them to have conversations with clients that I'm not involved in.
Yeah.
So
and the beautiful thing with that though is what it now gives you is the insights to go, oh, wait on, because it's challenged your paradigm,
it's
right?
Scale.
And it's challenged your paradigm because now you're like, well, I remember saying to you, and I say this to a lot of people, and I heard this, so I didn't create this sort of concept, but I can't remember who I heard say it. Maybe Peter Diamandis or someone. I can't remember. Not really.
This is two podcasts in a row where you're going to try and quote someone and you've completely.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, thanks for putting out my flaws, mate. I've got feelings.
What do they say? Good friends stab you in the front.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'll fucking toot this fucking horn soon. Got a klaxon here if you can't see it. If you're listening to this one, there you go. So Peter Diamandis. I'm just going to go with him. It's like, or Peter Thiel maybe. Either way, the loop's open in my head. I'm like, who was it? Because I don't like misquoting people, right? But set your 10-year goal, right? What do you want to do in 10 years? Okay, and you set it and you're like, okay, this is what I'd like my life to look like in 10 years. It's like, okay, now you got to do it in 5 years. Could you still do it? And most people are, oh, yep. Okay, do it in 12 months. What if you had to do it in 12 months? Right. So it was something along the lines that I heard there, and it's something I've brought through, especially with a lot of, coaching and so forth that I've been doing and I sort of utilized it with you going 12 months. I was like, but what if you had to though? Like, what if you had to bring this, and there was no other option that you had to have someone trained up in 3 months? Is it possible? You know what I mean? At the time when you don't have a training curriculum or you don't have a set path or, you don't have the amount of clients to give them exposure to. And then I would go, okay, if you don't have enough exposure, how are you creating the exposure?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you creating fake sales, fake dummy sales, role playing, this, and this, so you can speed up? Because everything that I do in the business world and generally in life is, if there's a shorter, faster way of doing it, I'm going, man, I'm taking the shortcut.
The lazy, smart person.
It's not even lazy. It's the smartest fucking thing you could do. Like, why would you not take the shortcut if there is? Unless you're going for a walk and you're like, I've got to do a 5K walk. You're not going to cut through the park and do a 2K walk, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about when I realized that there's only a certain amount of time on this planet that we have, I became obsessed about being able to do things in a shorter period of time.
Concurrent activity.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if I can build this business in 3 years, like you look at the first 12 months of Klaxon, would be what most agencies try and achieve in 5-6 years. It's just because of the perspective, the mindset, looking at it, right? And now look at where you guys are last year compared to this year. I mean, we're 5 months in and you've already doubled your sales from last year.
Yeah.
Right? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but
yeah,
because there's some fundamental internal changes and shifts that you've made as a business owner.
Yeah.
Right.
What
are they?
Yeah, well, true story. So we had we invited 83 people to be part of our longer term coaching program last year. And considering it was only 35 the year before, I was like fucking blown away with that. I was like, wow, we have really, really shot for the moon and gone past it. And now here we are like halfway through May and we've nearly got 60 under our belt already so far. So it's just phenomenal. Like the amount of, and again, it comes down to more time in the market, more brand recognition, better reputation, social proofing, referrals, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's, that's certainly been part of it there, and obviously the fundamentals of making sure that occurs is being diligent, having great processes in place, having high standards, never letting bloody something fail, and making sure that your clients that come to you, I guess this is a little analogy that certainly the military people that we speak to get a really great understanding of. But I guess the listeners here might sort of respond to as well. You can have a practice round, or play a practice game, or do a rehearsal, or just sort of have it for shits and giggles. But when you're in a competition, or from a military perspective, you can do an exercise or a rehearsal. But when you go on operations and there's people shooting at you and you're over in the Middle East, you're doing shit for real. What I love about coming to work every day with an Axon shirt is that we're dealing with people's financial futures for real every day.
Yeah.
So the decisions we make, the information we provide them, the strategy we put forward, it's either going to work and people are going to have an amazing experience with us, and therefore their financial future is going to be secured, which is why they've come there in the first place, or we're going to find them a property which goes down in value and no one wants to live in it, and it's a fucking shit experience, and therefore we're dead in the water. So that sort of product to market fit that you almost opened the session with, it's a very, very double-edged sword when you've got such a very sharp and focused product to market fit like what we have. There's 80,000 people in defense, 60,000 regular, and about 20,000 reservists. But I reckon there's more than 75% of the people that make contact with us comes in through our sort of Facebook marketing funnel, etc. We jump on there, stalk book, and find out how many, if we've got a mutual friend with them, more than 75% of the time between Dan and I alone, we know someone in the second or third degree. So, therefore reputation is king, because the community is so small. Like if you have a bad experience with one person in the name of mateship and in the name of there's 80 of clients looking after themselves, 80 of people looking after their mates, they're going to tell their mates about it. As the saying goes, Aussies that have a shitty experience will tell 30 of their mates. Aussies that have a really great experience might tell 3 of their mates.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a massive difference.
Yeah, it sucks how that happens. But two key words there that start with R is the responsibility first and foremost, right? The businesses that I see do well and grow are ones that do see what they do as a responsibility, whether it's a responsibility to make sure that the product is of top quality or the service is of top quality. And then, of course, there's the results factor, right? Prior to obviously Claxon, I had a number of companies, but one in particular, coaching consulting, where I'd advise people, I'd say, hey, here's what, here's where you're at, here's where you want to go, here's what I'd be doing, bang, 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 bang. Sound advice that's made millions of dollars, advice that's enabled me to grow multiple businesses really fastest, build a franchise, build an RTO, built so many things from this methodology that I'm teaching and sharing. But then there's the responsibilities back on you, because you got to go and do it.
Yep.
Right. We are working with people's money every single day. You're a client of ours. Every dollar you spend, that's a responsibility for us going, this isn't monopoly. This isn't play money. And the game that we're in is we're not in a binary game. It's not X plus Y equals Z. It's A plus B equals J minus Q, blah, blah. It's a forever evolving and changing thing, right? And the responsibility that we feel that we have, and that's why we do have such a high success rate with clients over the board, is because we treat it with such a responsibility. I treat your dollar, like we treat every client's dollar more importantly than I'd treat my own.
Same.
Because the responsibility is, oh my God, because, everyone's got their own relationship with money, and you could have a bad day in the internet. You could have a really good day in the internet. To your point, you could have 50 days in a row that are absolutely killing it out of the park, and you might have 2 or 3 bad days. People are going to remember the bad days.
It's like,
right? So it's the ability to invest, though, in your marketing. And I want to talk about marketing a little bit here and how you, how you guys sort of position what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate end outcome is being able to help Defence Force members purchase investment properties. But it doesn't start like that. There's a coaching element and an education element, which what I love, because it's you're helping people understand what the heck this is all about. It's not just, hey, give us your money and we'll get you a cool property, right? What does it look like? Sort of give me a bit of a rundown.
So it all starts with education. So we basically do as we're talking to fellow business owners here on the Claxon Cast. So we're talking about market position, market messaging, making sure that the terminology and the language and the copy that we're putting in our ads there, and to your team's credit, even though Michael's got some experience working with another nation's military, the rest of the team hadn't. So we went through our own sort of induction period here about, hey, this is a language and this is a jargon and this is the way they speak. Because again, when you work with such a specialized group of people, they have their own way. And like if you put one sort of foot wrong, like, before we started, Tamara and I had a couple of like jet planes on one of our images. And everyone's like, oh, they're fucking Russian planes. You got the wrong planes on there. How can we trust you like this? And we're like, fucking relax, mate. Yeah. It's just a jet plane. Like that. We were just trying to put the fact that there was a military aircraft on an ad. But for people that are really passionate about being in the defense force, they're like, that's the wrong fucking plane. So therefore, you got a chink in your armor straight away. So you've got to be on point with your messaging as far as that goes.
Yep, absolutely.
And of course, from there, we get them to come along to learn all about how to put a strategy together, get their Axons working properly, mindset, where to buy, what to buy. Your defense force clients have unique housing entitlements like the first homeowners grant on steroids sort of thing. So, and the bet there's no call to action.
Well deserved.
I'm 100%. For sure. Interestingly, and your listeners might find this curious, there's no selling on that event. Anyone goes to a webinar or a live event or something that people are giving away a whole lot of free value, they're like, oh, here comes the fucking sales pitch. Yeah. And you know what? We don't have one of those. We're like, there's an opportunity for you guys to reach out to us, and then we'll have a free discovery call face to face, and then of course we'll invite you to have a coaching session. Yeah. But I guess one of the things that's really excited me over the last 9-12 months or so, Brett, is that we've reached a volume of clients now that we are working to 75-80% of our capacity, which means we don't have to take on everybody. So I've basically flipped it on its head there, is that we don't sell anything with that first 2 hours of really, really awesome value, and you can't buy your way in. Yeah. We choose who we want to work with. So it's a really interesting dynamic, because when we jump on that sort of discovery call, and clients are giving me this feedback, they're like, I thought you were going to try and sell me something. But we go through a series of questions. It's not a job interview for us. It's a job interview for them. We've got what you want. We know the strategy. We know where to buy. We know what builders to use. We know how to get results. And if you want a part of that, we've got this thing called the no dickhead test. There's no dickheads that we work with, and there's certainly no dickheads that we have from an employment perspective either. Yeah. So it's really sort of flipped this on its head there. And I guess, it's not a tactic. It's not a ploy. I just don't have the time to work with people that are going to be tire kickers, or people that are not coachable, or people that think they know better than what, what we are as far as the experts go. So it's been really interesting. So that's the whole thing, that like the marketing funnel finishes when we get people to come along to the event. But I guess it doesn't really finish then, because then we select clients to then come on and have a coaching session. We put a strategy together, go find the property for them, etc. So it's interesting. What are your thoughts on that, by the way? Yeah. He's like,
mate, I think you're doing it all wrong. And this is my show, mate. No, I'm kidding. Mate, I love it for a number of reasons. One, it works, right? So, never sort of hate on something that's working, but more so you hit on a couple of things that are really important and I can resonate, is that you don't need to work with everyone. Yeah. And we're actually talking about this over lunch. That it's a very humbling place to be at. Like, we're turning away clients every single day. Like I just talked to one of our sales team earlier, and he's like, yep, I got the person who's super keen, they want to get started. And then we actually did some last tests, and we realized, no, we're not comfortable bringing you on as a client due to the risk that you have and the investment that you're able to put towards ad spend and so forth. It's just not going to work for you. So for us to be able to do that, I think that's the most genuine thing that you can do as a business. I also get it when you're first starting. It's like, geez, I need clients, right? So there's always that debate. But talk to anyone who's brought on a client who ended up septic before, they'd go, geez, I wish I never did that. Totally. Right? Totally. But again, hindsight's bloody amazing, isn't it, when you think about it? But what I like is the education around it. I've sort of hit you up as a bit of I've got this grandiose master plan that we'll keep under wraps, that I've sort of highlighted you as maybe someone
that can help you.
Yeah, someone in there who can certainly help with that. And just even in our conversations and how you frame things around just making sure the person understands what's going on. Yeah. And I'm someone who's curious. I like to sort of know How does that work? You know, I'm the guy that will go, how are cranes built? And I'll go and watch a Google video and go, how are cranes built, right? I'm curious. So for someone like me, and I know a lot of people who need to sort of see how things work and why it works before they've even got an opportunity to actually, you know, invest in a property. Because what that does is it actually pre-indoctrinates them to a level where they're already like, oh, I want to do this now. I'm actually excited about this, versus seeing the investing as a daunting experience. They're prepped. You know, they've had their bit of education up front, and now they're, you know, they know that they've got you guys, you know, trusted advisors to be able to help them through the entire process. So I like it.
One of the great things I love about our sort of funnel there is that, you know, people will see all of our little videos online, and, you know, we did another live Q&A last night with the mortgage broker, and, you know, we get tons of people to come along to that, which is great. And it's good to engage the community.
Yep.
People reach out to us, like, hey, so how do we work with you? I'm like, I'll pick up the phone, have a quick chat just to, you know, suss out their circumstance. I said, listen, I think you're going to get the most benefit by watching a 90-minute video that we've done, which is going to basically answer all of your questions.
Yeah.
And when someone says to me, they're like, oh, it's 90 minutes. Mate, I don't think I've got time to watch 90 minutes. Do you know what I say to them? I'm like, this is your financial future we're talking about. Say that to me again and listen to yourself saying, I don't have 90 minutes to learn about something I was not taught at school. Oh, but, you know, the missus is not really into it. I'm like, well, you fucking go and tell her, honey, I care about our financial future. I'd like to think you do as well. And so, don't get me wrong, sometimes, and in fact, at least 50% of the time, I want to emphasize I'm not being sexist here. A lot of ladies in the relationship reach out to us and go, my husband's too busy. He doesn't really care about it. He's tinkering out the back with his, you know, playing with his cars and fucking, or he's out bush all the time in the military, whatever it is. I'm like, you've got to be on the same page. Yeah. I'm not going to coach you. We're not going to do like a black ops on the side and put together a full strategy about what your family unit's financial future looks like if your other half's not on board. So, you know, so husband or wife or partner or whatever else, you know, they've got to be together. I really, really love it when someone balks at want to invest 90 minutes of their time to learn about something.
Perspective again.
It's a great filter.
Yeah.
It's a great filter, because if you don't want to watch that, I'm not your guy. Go fucking ring up LJ Hooker or Ray White or, you know, someone else who's wearing that suit and the white shoes and the gold chain, and they're just going to fucking shove a property down your throat. Go work with them, because they don't care that you take ownership. I guess what we do is that we don't allow our clients to put blind faith in us. There's a series of briefings and a series of programs. Like having a look and finding the property is the 5th conversation we have. It's nowhere near the first, and it just worked. That's why out of the 83 people that we signed onto our program last year, only 4 of them didn't go ahead. 2 of them have rolled over into this year, partners and whatever else losing jobs. And then the other 2 sort of didn't go ahead because family and friends got involved. So the amount of work and screening and filtering and messaging that we put together, and right from the very first time they find us, it works because it's the highest and best use of our time. Yeah. Like to have 78 conversions out of 83, 79 out of 83, 4 fell over, is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
In this industry anyway.
Very much so. So let's talk about property investing, right? There's multiple ways you can go about it, but what's the method that you like to roll with? There's
absolutely multiple ways. So you can buy a home, do a renovation, live in it whilst it's being renovated, flip it, make 50 grand, move on to the next one. You can buy a high-rise apartment if that's your thing. You can do some land banking. You know, there's lots of different ways of using property. What we specialize in doing, I guess it comes back from a military foundations perspective. We specialize in doing brand new land and build projects, house and land packages, a 1980s term, I suppose, whereby you buy the block of land and build the house. And that's just on the 2 premise of these things here, whereby you reduce the risk and maximize the cash flow. Because, you know, this is at the end of the day, especially if you're like my age in your 40s, and if this is your first property you're buying, if you fuck it up, you don't have time to recover. Like if you buy a 3 or 4 year old property, and I guess the building inspector doesn't have like a 15-foot tall X-ray machine to walk around the whole bloody property. He just walks around, knocks on a bloody few walls, turns on the lights, turns on the water, you know, makes sure the solar's connected or whatever. He goes, yep, she's good to go. But here's my report. But there's 4 pages of disclaimer that says I don't actually fucking know what's underneath the foundation.
I may or may not have seen termites in the roof.
Well, that's just it. So you know, I guess it's one of those things. You know, why would you undertake an element of risk if you don't need to? And of course, you get all the cash flow, the depreciation, the better tenants, you get more rent with a brand new property, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's not for everybody. we had somebody, Buffett, give us a 1-star review on Google a couple of weeks ago. He goes, not even a client of ours, by the way. And everyone else looked at this sort of Google profile and said, yeah, he only ever gives 1-star reviews to all different companies. So this is some troll. He goes, be careful. These guys only specialize in one area. So that's going to be a supply and demand issue. And they only do house and land packages, 1 star. And I jumped on there. I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
Yeah, he got you.
He got me all right. He got it. He got a reply too.
Yeah, I know.
He got a reply. Don't you worry about that.
It was a Robbie Turner paragraph and a half.
It was, listen here, fuckface, for want of a better term. Yeah.
So, all right, land and home property. Let's say I want to buy it. I want to get one. What do we do?
First thing you do is watch a video I'm going to send you.
Yeah, I don't watch videos. I ain't got the time.
Say that again.
Yeah, I don't watch videos, mate. No. So let's say I've already done all the videos and we're already there, and I'm like, cool. Yeah. I'd like to get one of these properties. How do you even know where to buy?
Yeah, so we've got this.
Like, do I go out and just buy a piece of land?
No. So we provide full service delivery as far as that goes. So once we put the strategy, so it's very important to understand that, for instance, the next property that Emily and yourself buy probably won't be the next one I buy, because we're all on our individual journeys. Mm-hmm. Some properties are really good for capital growth, not so good cash flow. Other properties you get a really nice healthy balance of both. Other properties you'll get shit capital growth, but you get really good cash flow if you buy a dual key property or a duplex or something. Mm-hmm. So we need to work out what's going to be best for you. I'll just take it up a level as far as that goes. Then, of course, we're naturally going to get to a point where is.
And what's that based off, though? What's good for me? That's based off our current financial situation, what we can invest, that type of stuff.
Most importantly, what is it you're trying to achieve in 10 years?
Okay.
So what's your 10-year goal, like you're speaking about before, from a business and entrepreneur perspective? Yeah. And then what steps do we now need to take in a sort of reverse planning methodology, whereby we can now move towards your goals, but we already know this, like the gateposts that we need to hit along the way there.
Right.
So then I guess the biggest decision that most investors or anyone who wants to use a property asset class needs to make is nailing down the right location. No worries. But I guess because the greatest thing or the greatest benefit you're going to get from using that asset class is that you want a return on your money. And that return's either going to come in cash from a rent return, tax return perspective, or it's going to come in capital growth, where you can grow equity and then grab that equity and go and buy another one without having to save up for another sort of deposit. So you must buy in areas which give you that capital growth, so as you can leverage from one property to the next, and essentially just sort of building a little wealth creation machine of these properties that are paying for themselves. The wonderful thing about borrowing money at the moment, Brett, is like, you can get an investment loan for 3.5% these days. But if you buy in the right areas and you're getting 5% rental yields, like, it's a positively geared and positive cash flow straight off the bat, like even with a 10% deposit. Yeah. So it's fucking gold. So this is the stuff we went through last night with the mortgage broker. The government's thinking about bringing in a, $50,000 first homeowners grant, subsidy package on top of the normal state first homeowners grant. If that happens,
mate, I want to put 2 houses down.
If that happens, our business is going to blow up. Because the majority of reasons why a lot of people don't reach out to us is that they might only have 10 or 20 grand in the bank,
and deposit,
they don't have their 50 grand saved up, and that's completely fine. But if that instantly goes away, with a really strong product to market fit and the really great messaging and the really great marketing funnel that we've got in, and from an education and coaching perspective, we are going to go nuts. I'll have to go and hire 3 or 4 more people straight away.
But it takes 12 months.
Not anymore. not anymore. Not anymore.
What have you had to do it in a month? Could you do it?
Well, we've got 3 superstar guys that have already put their hands up, and the great news is that they're all current clients of ours.
Yeah, that's
they've already built a property. Yep. So they know what it's like to sit across the other side of the desk, like what I am now with you. So when they're in the position to try and coach and guide and mentor someone along the way and do it the Axon standard, because they've felt and they understand, it's going to be much easier for them to pass on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where's the hotbeds right now in Australia?
So we've got 9 different estates across 3 different, 9 different estates in 3 separate states. We can't travel to any of them at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
So we've got
Palastasia.
Yeah,
what is it?
Yeah.
Anastasia.
Auntie Anastasia.
Palace.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. I've heard her name so much that I've just forgotten
the chief medical officer down in Australia and the Prime Minister, who is a fucking, I really, really like ScoMo. I think he's done an amazing job.
Great job.
He's done an excellent job. even when he was over in Hawaii at the same time we were, where the bushfires were happening. That's all right. No one talks about that anymore.
Forgot about that.
But like, imagine being in his shoes where he's like, I have provided our office, the National Cabinet has provided no advice to the premiers whatsoever from a medical perspective why the borders should be shut. What he's actually saying is, why the fuck are the borders not open?
Yeah.
That's my take on it anyway. Yeah. So I guess
we digress.
We digress. I hope that that happens soon because, fucking Lord knows with 1 person in hospital and 4 people that have got the disease in Queensland, fucking shut the joint down. Anyway.
You're still going.
Mate, you know what I do? I listen to Paul Murray at night time.
Right.
And you want to talk to someone who doesn't give a fuck about ranting on. I get inspiration from him. I think it's fucking great. So we've got 3 different estates down in Melbourne. We've got 2 different estates in New South Wales around the Newcastle Hunter region. And then we've got about 5 other estates here in southeast Queensland. I won't go into specific suburbs per se.
Sure.
Because it is.
So what do you look for?
So we've got this
schools, shopping malls, new.
We've got this philosophy called the 7 ingredients to a healthy property market, whereby education, medical, retail, and transport, they're the sort of the 4 key infrastructure drivers. Like there's about 45% of the Australian workforce that just work in those sectors alone. Okay. And as you know, people like to live where they can work or close to being that work there. Then, of course, you need to have master plan communities. Some of the master plan communities have got a shopping centre and a school and a medical centre all inside the wire, like all within that, and even a train station, all within that sort of master plan community. So that's at macro and micro level. There needs to be a booming population growth going in there. This is a whole supply and demand sort of equation because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Yeah. And then, of course, there needs to be diminishing land supply, or there needs to be more percentage of population moving to an area than what there is land availability. Because at the end of the day, you want there to be 0 land available and so much infrastructure there with the demand for people to go and live there is so high that that's what drives property prices at the end of the day. So yeah, you can't have 4, like those areas. Commonwealth Bank the other day said, property prices are going to go down by 22%. Like, not in the areas that we can choose, because you can almost make yourself bulletproof from a pandemic perspective. Because sure, it might shut down the transport sector, but all the hospitals and the universities and the shopping centres are still open. Yeah. So I guess, you need to have all 7, not 6, not 5. If you go for 5 and you miss out on another 2, you do have a couple of chinks in the armor, and, a pandemic might come and bite you in the ass one day. And that's where. What
do you think's going to happen with property throughout this period? Like the next 12 months, what's your sort of predictions, your outlook?
Well, I guess the first thing to recognise is there's not one Australian property market. The drivers down in the Melbourne market are not the same as the drivers in the New South Wales market. It's not the same as the drivers in the Queensland market. So you need to acknowledge that there's not one Australian property market.
Why is that?
Because it's microeconomics. It's just not the same. What's going on in suburb X in Brisbane has got nothing to do with what's going on in suburb Y in Melbourne.
Yeah, you put a house in Sydney next to one here on the water and Surfers Paradise, and you're like, what the?
Well, that's just the value for money and the growth prospects there. But I guess, so you need to recognise that in your particular chosen market, just make sure all those elements are really, really key there. No one has a crystal ball. Whilst there was a lack.
Well, people do have them, but they got no fucking idea. They're looking into it. I think you're gonna.
We've been using the banks as our barometer,
right?
Because the banks have trillions of dollars invested in the Australian property market and, in fact, the global economy.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about, let's say, the big 4 and maybe Macquarie is the big 5, right? They have thousands of employees that probably work on the top of the towers in all the CBDs that have got economics degrees out the bloody wazoo, trying to look for that iceberg coming along, which is going to cripple the Australian property market and the Australian economy. So I guess what we've been using the banks as a bit of a barometer, going, if the banks don't want to lend money to people that can service the loan in a really good financial position, that's a red flag. If the banks instruct the valuers to go out there and smash the valuations on the new properties that they're trying to buy, that's a red flag as well. And none of that's happened so far. We've had, 25 loans approved in the last 8 weeks, and valuations continue to be on contract price or over contract price in these little micro areas.
Why do you think the banks haven't done that? Do you think they see something different or what?
Again, I guess when you are highly selective about where that property is going to be, and therefore the risk that the banks are willing to take on by lending, if you're going to get a $450,000 loan for a $500,000 property, there's 450,000 reasons why the bank might not want to lend you the money. So the level of scrutiny is super high. I guess that's one of the things that come out of the financial services the Royal Commission that they did sort of last year, the couple of changes were mortgage brokers can stay, because that was one of the proposals. If I can get rid of mortgage brokers, because dodgy mortgage brokers wrote a whole lot of loans to mum and dad investors that couldn't even service the debt in the first place. The whole low doc loan thing from 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But what they did say is that, and interest rates didn't change. In fact, they've come down to make it easier. But what the Royal Commission governor said, he said, let's make sure that the level of scrutiny on borrowers these days has never been higher. So they look at your Afterpay, they look at your Uber Eats, they look at your betting account. You know, if you go to the casino and the strippers, I'm not saying don't go there, but like just take cash out, don't get a receipt, don't bloody swipe your card in somewhere which shouldn't be swiped, for instance. So, you know, the level of scrutiny that goes into how you're using your disposable income is massively high. You know, but I guess the great thing that we've been able to benefit from having those clients that are in the Defence Force, none of our clients have lost their job. Sure, some of their partners and spouses have been impacted by it. And, you know, one of the guys on our live Q&A last night, he goes, look, I've actually spent more money than what I ever have in the lockdown. I'm like, how the fuck's that's happened? Like, most people have been able to save money. He goes, mate, we've got 3 kids. I've had to go and buy laptops for them all because I've had to have homeschooling. So there's 10 grand out the bloody, out the, you know, give or take.
Yep.
So, you know, it's everyone's in their own circumstances there, but certainly we've been extremely fortunate as someone in the wealth creation game that all of our clients have still got their jobs, and therefore there is opportunities to be had. You know, in the lead up to the end of the financial year, some of our builders are like, here's a free security system. Here's a free upgrade to ducted air conditioning. Here's a free upgrade to some vinyl flooring. Here's some free upgrades to some bloody matte black tapware as opposed to the normal chrome stuff. So there's some opportunities and bargains to be had on the lead up to the end of the financial year.
And especially, like, I guess the key being, if you are in a position to be able to service the loan, now is a time to take advantage of potential opportunities.
Totally.
Right?
You know, again, but not just anywhere, not just where, like, one of the biggest mistakes that people in property make and have been making for decades and probably will for the next few decades is buying in an area that you are familiar with, because that's where you grew up, or that's where mum and dad are, you know, or you think you know the market. You've got to completely cut that umbilical cord from an emotional perspective and buy where the numbers and the stats and the data point you towards. Like, because at the end of the day, when people are buying property, you can either buy it for lifestyle choices, and there's a big fucking wall of China in the middle, or you've got wealth creation choices. And that we want to make the wall that big whereby you can't straddle either side. You can't have a foot in either sort of, you know, gate there. You're either buying a property that's where you want to live, and whether the market goes up or down is a fucking moot point because you're choosing to live there from a lifestyle. Or if you're just not going to live in it and you're going to have an investment property and be a rent investor, for instance, you just want the fucker to go up in value, and all you care about is the numbers.
Absolutely.
So again, it's a mindset thing about, you know, not just sure what you just said is correct. Now's the opportunity to buy the right properties in the right areas and, you know, use money wisely, but not just anywhere. You've got to go the next level of detail.
Absolutely. Mate, like anything, right? Got to dot your I's, cross your T's, circle your zeros.
Yeah.
Hey, what about that one?
I haven't heard that one before.
No, I've never said it either. That was a brand newie.
We'll
add that to the list.
Luckily, there's a couple of extra zeros in one's life these days, which makes things good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mate, what's your final words for anyone who's thinking about or is, you know, wanting to invest in property? Obviously, you work with the ADF crew, so you're not at this current stage sort of open to everyone and anyone.
No.
However, what would your advice be for someone who wants to sort of get into the investment game and sort of start taking it seriously? Where should they start looking? What should they be reading? What should they be learning?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing is just learn as much as you can about it, and ultimately,
from where? Where do we learn?
You know,
do I Google it? Do I watch Bob talking about real estate, or where do I go?
Oh, look, there's a number of different firms around the country that sort of specialize in this stuff, and I guess so. Look at all those different firms. I don't need to name them all now. You know, you won't find hard. Just type in property investing or wealth creation, and you know, all those big firms are doing their Google AdWords and their marketing sort of stuff as well.
Where do you get the information from?
We pay for some subscription sometimes.
Okay.
So Terry Ryder Hotspotting.
Yep.
He's probably the godfather of property investing research around the country. Michael Matusik's another big one from a research report. So again, we just focus on trying to find the areas that are going to go up in value. And then of course we need to have the builders and the property managers and the building inspectors and the tent and the depreciation report needs to get done for your investment. So there's a whole group of people that's, you know, sort of form part of the Axon network per se. But yeah, I guess, you know, so I was going to say that you would appreciate this. In every book about success or leadership or business or wealth creation, in the first couple of chapters, without doubt, there'll be somewhere in there that says, find a team that can help you.
Yep.
So that's, I guess, the greatest piece of advice I could give people is, don't be like me, an arrogant and ignorant prick from 10 years ago who thought I didn't need any help.
Yeah.
And I bought a couple of properties that were fucking in terrible places that I bought with family, and I bought in a mining area and, and I had no advising and no one helping me along the way because I thought I knew it all.
You thought the goal was property and I'll get there however.
And I'm like, how hard can it be? I'll do my own research. No, no one's going to take advantage of me.
Yep.
I've seen all these other people with properties. How hard can it be? And I fucked it up big time. But yeah, that's my biggest bit of advice.
It's the best piece of advice, right? It's like anything. If you're wanting to do your marketing, stop trying to do it your fucking self. Come and see us. If you want properties, go and find someone who can do it. If you want to work with Robbie, go and join the military. Go and do some service. Come out and use your ADF entitlements.
You said to me before,
you're like, to get in there.
I want to be one of your clients. I'm like, you need to go and put a uniform on first, mate. But
I've got plenty of uniforms. I'll throw one of them on and we'll make something happen. But mate, appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no worries. Loved it again.
Mate, absolutely wonderful. And mate, looking forward to doing a take two in another few months, and we'll see where Axon Property is at.
For sure. And let us know what your other podcasts are that you're working on, and I'll probably come and join you on them as well.
Oh, invite only. We'll see.
Put a uniform on.
Awesome.
Thanks, buddy.